She just said not to take pictures of her. Very cool.
1959, a professional caver whose name was Peter Preble, he came into the cavern and he explored, and when it was still abandoned, and he found a crack, a fissure. Now these fissures were caused a long time ago when the Rockies were uplifted. There was a lot of heat and friction, and as the mountains cooled off, they cracked internally. You don't see it from the outside, but the analogy I would make is like baking a cake and taking it out of the oven, letting it cool. And once the cave came along later, in some places, the cave actually intersected with these fissures. They're normally diagonally down or straight down, usually always dead end, but up 18 to 20 inches wide. And Pete Preble found this fissure, and he decided to go down. And by shining his light, it looked like it was a dead end, but he went anyway. And halfway down, it narrowed one vertical foot to just 8.5 inches wide. But he wasn't to be stopped. He turned his head sideways, got his nose out of the way, took a lot of deep breaths to get some oxygen in his bloodstream, and then squeezed it all out. And with the help of gravity, squeezed down through that narrow space and then it opened back up again. But he had to come back out, remember, a little harder. But once he got down near the bottom, it curved and opened like a cornucopia. That's why his light wouldn't shine all the way. And that took him into the second largest room ever found in Colorado, which is the first room that you go on to on the next tour. He named it the Barn. It's 250 feet long, 40 feet wide, 65 feet tall. And it took him 2.5 hours to climb back out that 32 feet. And he went to the courthouse to try to find out who owned the property. It was the Darrow children. The father was no longer alive. And just like Dad, they had no interest in the cave, in the land. Notice I said cave, and I'm pretty sure he didn't mention anything about this room that he found. They sold everything to him for $16,000 in 1959. And fortunately for us, he's the one that closed up the original opening, put a door on the cave, and actually there was another opening at the other end. He put a door on that, stopped the moisture from leaving the cavern, but more importantly, kept the vandals out. And he had a plan to open the cave to the public, and never could put the money together. So for the next 40 years, he owned the cavern, and only 4 or 5 of his caving friends who were slim enough could go down and see that room. So keep in mind, for 40 years, 4 or 5 people saw the room, which now is seen every day, but we had to build a tunnel into that room, and that was completed in March of 1999. And the current owners are Steve and Jeannie Beckley, who for 12 years, they were both amateur cavers, but for 12 years, prior to taking over in 98, tried to come and see the cavern and buy it from Mr. Preble, but he refused. And then finally, he was just getting old enough that he finally gave in. But he didn't do too bad. He sold it for $1 million. And they are the current owners, and they had another business, which was enough to sustain that. So all this is all their dream of development. Everything that they make here is put back in every year. Some of our rides, like the roller coaster, cost a couple $1 million, so it takes a lot to put a ride up here and get all the equipment and everything up here. But we've grown the park since 1999. The first 4 years we had nothing up here but the caves, so we brought you by van, and then after about 8 months of the year, the snow would keep us from driving up here. Then the tram was put in 2003, April of that year, and that's when I joined the company after being retired for 3 years and getting bored. But as a caver, this is the most ideal place to be when you're retired. I have a ball up here. So that's kind of the rest of the story. And does anybody have any questions before we move on? Okay. There is a couple of low spots in this passageway to the left here.
I'd like to spend the night in here. Wouldn't that be fun, Dad? Would you do it with a sleeping bag? No?
It's Jared.
Wow. Getting wet. Wet petals. Yep, wet floor. Look at that, it's like a slide.
When you come into the Eternal Tower, just look up. It goes up 65 feet, almost to the surface, about another 5 feet before a rock before you're outside. But there is no opening out there. And the reason we have LED lights in here starting last year is the incandescent bulbs up there burned out too fast, and that was a tough one to change. Now, Mr. Darrow named this the Eternal Tower because I believe they were coming in with candles and probably looked like it went out forever, but we know better today. But when he brought his oldest daughter to see the cave for the first time, in this room holding a candle, seeing it flicker on the walls and ceilings, she reported as she saw fairies dancing. That's how it got the name of Fairy Caves. And back in 1895, of course, fairies were in the Victorian era were very, very common. Now, this room has a lot of tree roots in it, which have come all the way down from the top. You can see them everywhere. Over here. And the biggest tree root that I've seen. Okay. That's all the way down through the rock, 65, 70 feet. It's pretty amazing. Unfortunately, you've just moved down just a wee bit further. Everybody get a chance to see all the damage that was done in this room, all the huge stalactites that were broken off here. And the one that disturbs me the most is that here's what we call a column. That's where a stalactite and stalagmite have actually joined together. But look at this one that's missing. That would have been a beauty, that one right there also. But what happens when you don't have a flat space down below, you can't have a stalagmite grow up. You would get what's called flowstone, and that's what you're seeing right here. This normally is a much lighter color, but because it's wet right now and because of the iron that we have here, it actually has darkened down. Now I say that because I have been here for 12 years, and normally at this time of the year, this cave is totally dry. But we've had 20 days out of 22 of rain. I've never seen so much rain.
That's how Vern was too.
And I've lived here for 15 years. It's just unbelievable. But we actually, every morning, we have to pump out the tunnel that I'm going to take you through. It gets 6 to 8 inches of water in it.
Yeah, they said they had to pump it out first.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. But this is pretty spectacular piece of formation, especially when you think that the geologists tell us that the cave coral was formed in the earliest days of the cavern development. And if you look under here, it's about a foot underneath here. So this has been one speck of mineral at a time flowing down here, catching on all this coral, all the way over to here, all the way over to there.
Those stalagmites, can you bring them up to your hand?
Absolutely. The best way to give you an analogy of that, have you ever broken an icicle? If you grab it at the bottom, doesn't matter how big it is, I mean, you can snap it off. And if you go on the other tour, you'll see some that are big as tree stumps. I mean, that you probably couldn't break off, but this size here, yes. Now, the interesting thing is that the first 2 years, cave tours were held by candlelight. Then in 1897, Mr. Darrow put electric lights in the cavern. We were one of the first caves in the country to have electricity. And I think it would have been pretty spectacular after you crawled through that hole in the ground. And we have recreated that in the second part of our tour, which is the whole new section that we blasted out over 100 ton of rock to connect rooms where we could only crawl before. So I'll show you that. It's not what we call knob and tube wiring. But the vandals took that all out of here. And the only way we have proof, if you go into our restaurant, on the right-hand side of the fireplace is a picture taken over 100 years ago in this room, standing just about where I am. 2 ladies in their long dresses right here, over here. And if you look at the picture, and it's faded, but coming out of that tunnel that we just walked through, right across that picture, right about at that level, you'll see the wires. And then about 3 feet away from their heads hanging down is a clear glass edison style light bulb. Plus, we have about 10 of these left where the wires would have been strung. They didn't take these out, but the majority of them are kind of hidden, so you don't really see them, but this one is very, very obvious. All right, now I'm going to take you through a tunnel that Mr. Darrell built. It took him 2 years, 188 feet, looking for silver. Never found anything, but he had a great view outside when he got out there. When you're on a concrete floor, that is the start of the man-made tunnel. And I'll continue on that.
Yeah, they're right on my camera. Did it?
What's in there? Oh, I want to crawl in there. I like being in the back. I can take my time.
And right there.
It's so beautiful. I want to see that.
Those are over 120 years old.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Just think about building this tunnel for 2 years and not finding anything.
You'd want to give up? I want to take a tent and a sleeping bag and sleep in here. Maybe not a tent, just a sleeping bag.
That is a fissure just like the one I was telling you about, but not the exact one. That is a dead end all the way down there.
Wow. Cool.
It's always good news to see sunshine when I come out here. Although it's
Awesome.
looks like something's coming.
Look at that.
Off to the right there, you can see our giant swing. And if you look directly above us, this is our latest ride. This is July of last year we installed this. And that is a carousel with seats that are on chains. And as it rotates, it swings you out over the canyon.
And it's fun too.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, I point out a lot of things out here normally, but they're all covered up right now. Mount Sopris is out there, and Ski Sunlight, our local ski area, but you can't see any of that. But down below, which you can see, the Colorado River. Up until 1920, it was not known as the Colorado, it was the Grand River. That is why our main street in town is called Grand Avenue today. The railroad tracks were put through the canyon in the position in 1985, still used daily by coal trains coming from the west. Also, Amtrak comes through here twice a day. Yeah, you get to see a good view of the operation up there. I don't sound too scared.
No.
Scary, it's fun. That's the first ride we went on.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of makes you wheezy when you go around.
The first 2 times around
Yeah,
gets
you're
pretty
like,
good.
okay, I'm done.
Oh.
It's just so cold. I don't know.
A little bit of trivia about the interstate that you see down there. It's 15 miles through Glenwood Canyon, and it took 12 and a half years to build those 15 miles. The most expensive part of the total interstate was almost $500 million, and it was completed in 1992. And when it was completed, it happened to be the last 15 miles of the 46,500 mile interstate started in 1992. This was kept to last for 3 reasons. One, the cost, one, the difficulty, and the other one was a lot of people didn't want to build, so it took a lot of time to build. Oh, you can see the swing.
Oh my goodness.
Hold your
No.
pictures until about 2 more. It gets It's up about this high.
Oh my
That'll be your
gosh.
best picture.
No way,
I think
Jose.
it's got one more to go, one higher.
Have you been on that?
Oh yeah.
Whew. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and pass on that one.
I actually rode that